Saber is our very first limited collaboration character in the game from the Fate series, and she's finally here. So let's look at her kit, and while it could be a little confusing, but trust me, it's actually pretty simple. And as always, this will be the topics and sections for this video. Feel free to skip to the part that you prefer to watch. How to play Saber. Alright, very simple, okay? First, you stack up core resonance. Then, when you have enough, you use your skill to generate her energy to full so she can use her ultimate. Okay, before I continue, what is core resonance and how does she get this core resonance? Each core resonance counts as 8 energy for Saber, so you can take it as core resonance is something that you use to store energy for Saber. If her skill cannot generate her energy to maximum with her existing core resonance, she gets 3. I'll explain this more later in game. Her talent gives her 1 when the battle starts. If any of her allies use their ultimate, she gets 3 core resonance and a 60% damage buff for 2 turns. Her enhanced basic attack gives her 2 core resonance. Her technique gives her 2 at the start of the battle. Lots of methods to stack this core resonance up. Now for the skill part that I said I was going to explain, it's better to show it in game, so let's go in game. To explain this core resonance, right, so you see your normal ultimate, right? For Saber, we have this small white bar above her green bar. So this white bar is how much energy your core resonance will regenerate. So if this white bar hits full, the next skill that you use, right, you will immediately hit full energy, no matter what your energy is. Like right now, my energy is 230. So as long as I have enough core and this white bar hits full, and I use the skill, your energy will regenerate to full. So let me give an example. Okay, so let's say I give Sunday energy to her. So you see? Okay, you saw that thing, right? That thing is mana burst, okay? I'll explain that in a later clip. So now, because you see this thing lights up, right? You see the white is changed. So now if I use the E, okay, she will have max energy and then I can just out. That's my first time hearing it. Yeah, that's about core resonance. And then whatever core resonance you have left, you see now we got 3. The white bar starts again. The ultimate is most of her damage as it does 10 bounces.
Oh my god!
Basically, 1 hit to all enemies, then it does 10 bounces. Each bounce is 110% damage. After you use the ultimate, her next basic attack becomes enhanced basic attack. And she can only use this enhanced basic attack. This enhanced basic attack, you will hit all enemies, but if there's only 2 or 1 target left, it will deal an additional hit of 150% if there's 2 or 220% if there's 1 target. And this will be done to all enemies. So her enhanced basic attack kinda hits twice. So overall, as you can see, she's actually pretty simple to play and does pretty good damage. Now that you know how to play, time to explain the rest of her kit. Technique, she gets 35% attack for 2 turns and 2 core resonance. Pretty straightforward. A2, she gets 20% crit rate, so easier to build the crit rate. And when entering the battle or using her enhanced basic attack, she gains a buff called Mana Burst. What does this do? If she has core resonance and can regenerate her energy to full via her skill, it gets consumed. Then she gains 1 skill point and immediately takes action. So this is basically E2 Firefly, E2 Dew. Yeah, it's pretty good. Let me also explain this in game as it will be much easier. Okay guys, to explain Mana Burst, right? Okay, at the start of the battle, she will have Mana Burst, okay? So you see, I think I explained already, right? You should get 1 skill point and immediately take action. So on her talent, okay, you see this, whenever she uses enhanced basic attack, right, she can also gain Mana Burst once you use the first Mana Burst. So how this Mana Burst is triggered is once this white thing touches the maximum and then it lights up, right, it will count as you trigger the Mana Burst, whether it's Saber's turn or not. So what you want to do is you want to make sure this white thing never touches full during her turn so that you don't waste the action advance. So here you see, because we are almost at full, right, if I use Sundays out on Saber, it will waste the action advance. So what I can do here is I can skill, and then I give the energy to her, right? You will see, okay, see? This white thing is going upwards. Then, we trigger the Mana Burst, see? Knight of the Dragoon. And now the Mana Burst is gone. And now, when we E again, immediately got out. Okay, then we use this. Now after we use the enhanced basic attack, okay, we bring up again. Release Golden Scepter. Okay, so now after we use the enhanced basic attack, we get back another mana burst. So that's how it works. Basically, okay, rule of thumb, just to repeat again, make sure this white bar never fills up during Saber's turn. If not, you'll waste the extra advance from the mana burst. And that's all I have to say. Next, you might be wondering, every core resonance gives you 8 energy. What if you stack like a lot of it and then you use it out? Won't you waste energy? Yes. And that is when her A4 comes into play. She can hold up to 120 excess energy and it will be refunded after she uses her ultimate. So she has kind of like Yun that got extra energy storage. And when the battle starts, she will always start with 60% energy if she's lower than it. Helpful for modes like Simulated Universe. A6. When using skill, she gets a 50% crit damage buff for 2 turns. And for every core resonance, she gains 4% crit damage, stacking up to 8 times. So this will total to 32%. And because it doesn't say that it expires, this is a permanent buff. Stat Tracers, 22.4% wind damage, 12% crit rate, 10% HP. Saber's Vertical Investment. First, her Light Cone gives 36% crit damage. When using ultimate, gain 40% attack. If the wearer's energy is greater than 300, which Saber can because she has 360 energy, regen energy equal to 10% of the wearer's max energy, and then gain another 40% attack buff for 2 turns. E1 grants her 60% ultimate damage. If she uses her basic attack or skill, she will gain 1 core resonance, so you can stack the core resonance faster for more bounce damage and quicker energy regen. E2, for the entire battle, it will keep track of how many core resonance Saber has gotten, and each one will ignore 1% defense up to 15 stacks. This may not be too useful because her current team, right, doesn't really have any ignore defense to stack together with this, unless you pull for like E1 Sunday. When you use skill to regenerate the energy to full, that skill will have 7% more damage for each core resonance she has. This is very, very strong, because let's say if you have like 20 core resonance, that will be like 140% extra skill damage. So in total, since her skill also adds 14% damage per core resonance, you'll be doing a total of 21% extra damage with the E2 per core resonance in total. E4, 8% win respan, and after uses the ultimate, gain 4% win respan, stack up 3 times, so total will be 20%. This has no expiry. E6, again 20% respan, but this is only for the ultimate. And then the overcap energy from her A4 is now 200, up from 120. After using her first ultimate, she just gets back 300 energy, just like that, and then resets every 3 ultimate users. You can get another 300 energy. E1 or S1. S1 is actually better than E1. However, they are actually quite close. What I would normally say is go for S1 instead in this type of scenario, because E1 will be stuck to Saber, whereas S1, right, anyone can use it as long as they meet the requirements. Although for now, I don't think anyone will have 300 energy that can make use of the requirement, but you can still use it as a stat stick. S1 is also easier to win. However, there's also another thing. If you get S1, your Fall of Aeon is now free. Saber's Teams. This is very straightforward, okay? Basically, right, you just copy and paste what Yun Li has in the team and then put it on Saber. Literally. Harmony Dove Duo, Sunday and Robin. And then you have your sustain. Either Gallagher with Quid Pro Quo or Ho-Ho. King Yun is a good alternative to Sunday, but you will lose out on Sunday's action advance. Or you can actually replace Robin for double energy battery, as Robin does not out as often as Ting Yun. So Ting Yun outing more often than Robin, you can get more core resonance. Remembrance MC is pretty good. No surprise here. 10 bouncers is 10 instances of true damage. Also with Saber's high energy of 360, she will max out the bonus true damage of Remembrance MC's A6 trees. which grants extra 20% true damage. Another one is Tribi. Because Tribi can out fairly often, it can be a pretty good core resonance battery for Saber, especially in AoE content like Pure Fiction. Lastly, Cypher. Cypher provides vulnerability, which scales pretty well in Saber's team, as no one can provide the vulnerability. The defense down from Cypher's Light Cone or Resolution Light Cone can also be good if you have E2 Saber, as the defense shred stacks better the more you have. However, one downside is Cypher does not out as frequently. Sometimes you might want to keep the out for a finishing blow. Now, how to build Saber? For Light Cone, Signature obviously is the best. Else...
Oh no!
Another contender for the fall of an Aeon. Well, if you happen to have a spare Phynon Light Cone for some reason, maybe you put double, that is better than 4 of Aeon. Or, if you happen to have Danheng Imbibitor Luna's Light Cone, you can borrow his Light Cone for the energy, as Saber does use enhanced basic attack, so she can make use of the Light Cone's effect. But do watch out for overcap on the crit rate, because it gives 18 crit rate. For your relic sets, Wave Strider Captain is the best, but Scholar is about the same. If you already have good Scholar sets, I would say you don't have to go and farm for Wave Strider. One thing to note is, while Wave Strider is a 1-turn buff, right? If you use your ultimate on Saber's turn, the buff will not tick down until her next turn, similar to when you use Bronya's ultimate on the DPS turn. So her outright will always have the Wave Strider Captain buff. For Plana, Glamoth, Space Sealing Station, Rutilan Arena, or Cell Soto. They are all very close in power, with Glamoth slightly pulling ahead. This is at 135 speed. However, 3 of these sets are kinda outdated and barely used for anyone else. Or they have a second set that basically no one uses. Basically, they are not efficient to farm. So unless you're willing to craft or commit fully for your Saber, the most efficient set to farm would be Rutilan Arena, since Broken Kill is used for many of your support characters. Main stats: crit damage body. She literally has 32% crit rate in the Tracers, which is basically an entire crit rate body. Plus you have Sunday's 20% crit rate. So you already have like 52 crit rate, that's a lot of crit rate. You can just run CD body. Speed or attack boots, depending on which setup you want to go. Either -1 speed Sunday, or you want to run a hyper speed Sunday or Sparkle, up to you. For the spear, if you're using Space Sealing, do go for the damage percent op, as the set buffs attack. Else, damage or attack percent, pick the one with better substats. For the rope, right, I would go for attack percent. ERR could give one more ultimate depending on the environment of the mobs that you're fighting and what kind of teammates you're using, but you're going to trade attack percent for it, and I wouldn't do that for a DPS. For your substats, very straightforward. Crit rate and crit damage, attack percent. If speed boots, you will need about 9 speed in substats. Basically be 135 speed and then run 134 Sunday. So your stat goals in the end will be 100 crit rate in battle, be fairly easy to hit, about 180 to 200 plus crit damage, and as we said, base or 135 speed. Saber's advantages and disadvantages. For advantages, insane single target damage. 10 bounces, oh my god. For record, E1 Yunli has 9 bounces. So you might be thinking, right, isn't that just one more bounce? But do take into account this is E1 Yunli, so E0 has less bounces. Bounces, right, if there's only one mob left on the field, which usually it's the boss, all of the bouncers will land on that one mob. That's why bounce is so powerful. And we are kind of moving away from AoE to more of a 3 target to or even 1 target scenario. We have started to have like Hule in the MOC. She has good teammate substitutes in Ting Yun and Remembrance MC. Technically, she is kinda free to play friendly. Saber is also one of the few bounce characters that may not struggle as hard in Pure Fiction because most of her kit does hit all enemies. However, right, like Onyxa, these AoE multipliers, yeah, I'm talking about the AoE, not the bounce, they are low. And we will have to wait and see how she ages going forward. Remember that every character needs time after their release to see whether they are really good, even though everyone just don't post every character on release and even before release. Lots of people have said Elyskye was terrible, and then what happens? It aged pretty well. The last advantage that she has is no dedicated relic and planner set.
Huh?
Now you might be wondering, how is this an advantage? Well, let me tell you, okay? This means, right, they have room to grow in the future, as their current best in slot relic sets isn't tailored to their kit. So if one day they decided to have like a new character that has, bounce attack again, and they'll be like, oh, maybe we'll have a new relic that actually buffs bounce damage, that could be a way that Saber can get better. So for disadvantages, being an ultimate reliant character with a big energy pool to deal most of her damage. Example, you have enemies that drain your energy, such as those TVs when they're angry, especially in Apocalyptic Shadow, where they're always angry, can be disadvantageous for Saber. Luckily, she has core resonance that can technically store this energy away from the energy police. As for how this will work in the future, whether they have more enemies like that, we'll have to wait and see. Lastly, their team looks complete. Unless we get a third limited harmony that also provides energy, there may be little room for Saber to grow in the future in terms of her teammates. However, Seridra is on the way. And who knows, perhaps she will be the one. We just have to wait and see. That is all for this video. Thank you for taking your time to watch it as always. Take care and have a great day. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Bye bye.